People said we could not play IPL in Guwahati, but we brought IPL to Guwahati and we played it twice. Age is not a number, it's a reality. And I feel that the things that I could do when I was 30, I can't do anymore.
Do you think you attribute a certain animal to a certain age only?
So if I was a lion at 30 and I wanted to go out and run and conquer, today I can't run and conquer. Advantage Assam is nothing but promoting the enterprise of Assam. I think Assam is at a stage in which it has a good leadership for business.
Welcome to another exciting episode of our podcast. Today, we have the honor of hosting a true visionary from Assam, a man whose contributions span across business, entrepreneurship, and the world of sports. Joining us is none other than Mr. Ranjit Barthakur, a prominent businessman and the executive chairperson of the Rajasthan Royals. With over 4 decades of experience in business management, information technology, sustainable development, Mr. Barthakur has left an indelible mark on multiple industries. From advising the former Chief Minister of Assam to playing a pivotal role in bringing the IPL to Guwahati, his journey is nothing short of inspirational. In this episode, we delve into the entrepreneurial ventures and his vision for Assam's future. Please join me for an insightful conversation with an individual whose passion for leadership and community development knows no bounds. Stay tuned as we explore the fascinating life and achievements of Mr. Ranjit Barthakur.
Ranjita, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show. Please tell me a little bit of how you're doing today. How are you feeling?
I feel that age is not a number, it's a reality. And I feel that the things that I could do when I was 30, I can't do anymore now. The process of mental mobility and physical mobility is, I wouldn't say impaired, but definitely it's slowed down. So to that extent, I miss being 30. So I think it's very important that, meaning I define my own tracks, going forward. But it's been enjoyable, and I enjoy this, and I enjoy my roots. And we're sitting where my parents built this home. I have little contribution to this. So they've given me good roots. They've given me the freedom to fly, and they've given me an opportunity to do whatever I wanted to do, to fly the skies and to conquer. So I think just conversationally, it's important to understand that everybody is in as good a space that they can be. You have to define your own space. And it's never always happiness, there's always be sadness to understand happiness. So there'll always be a down to know up. It's not always up. So the whole journey is very difficult to define from 30 to 71, that's where I am. So
That particular age or that particular period is what I would love to understand a little bit. And before we do a massive deep dive, I want to understand from your diverse career. You've dabbled in telecom, you've dabbled in entrepreneurship, business, FMCG, industries, now nature. If briefly you could tell us about that journey.
it'll take you 41 years to know that journey because from 30 to 71 is 41 years. So you may not have enough space in your memory to capture that. But I won't try and do that. What I will try and do is tell you what the various learnings have been, So I think what I've learned from various things can be encapsulated by something that Ashoka and Chanakya did in their rulership and leadership were quite important to my life, I think it was important that we understand that you have to work really doggedly and very hard. So you have to be like a donkey. So you have to understand who in your organization and who is a donkey, but you yourself have to be that donkey who works 24/7 to understand that and not be lazy and not in any way cut corners to try and do something. So the donkey is to be appreciated. Most people in an organization say, oh, he gadha nisna khati se. But actually that's not the point. The point is that's the guy who actually is the baseline of the worker, like the guy who's at the back office doing the accounts, the guy who's carrying the tea, etc. So I'm saying if you don't do all of that, you can never understand how actually growth how you grow. But you have to define how you grow. So first is donkey. Second is you have to be like a lion. A lion is a person who's fearless in conquest. A lion is a person who's very relaxed when there's no conquest. So a lion is always chilling, relaxing. But when it has to conquer, it just goes wild and goes and conquers. But a great thing about a lion, it condones after conquest. So once it conquers a village, once it conquers a enterprise outside, then it rests back and say that no, you're part of me. That not that I want to eat you all up and to give you what I want. So the second is to be like a lion, fearless and condoning and understanding what conquest, both in life is and what you are and what enterprise is about. The third is you have to be like a saras, crane, bogoli buli jot koi.
I love how your examples are all derived from nature.
Yes, totally. Because the whole idea is that if you take a love for nature, then you have to find examples in nature which will help you to grow. So then you have the saras, so crane. So bogoli jitiya jai no hai. It'll never put its beak unless it puts out something. Most people don't observe it because we are city guys. In the village, people also don't observe it because part of the scene. So they're very focused. They put their beak in, they'll put out a fish or a worm or a plant. So that's the saras crane. Even a Bortukula or a lesser adjutant stock, they also have very big focus ideas. All the crane family is very good for that. Last but not least, you have to have vision. And that vision is only provided by an eagle. So if you have vision, then you can understand. That vision is not any other vision, it's just the way to see. So if you are a pilot, for example, you can see the world below you. But a vision in this case is about what is the vision that you want to do. What do you want to be when you're 70? What do you want to be when you're 80? Most people are not defined to do this. So whether it is a vision, whether it is focus, whether it is being able to conquer and actually condone, spare and include people in your growth, or whether it is to work completely tirelessly. These are the four management structures that are required for enterprise. So enterprise, entrepreneurial and entrepreneurship are all linked words based on these four tenets.
So 40 years, 4 different animals. Do you think you attribute a certain animal to a certain age only, or they all work together at the same time?
I think it's a good question. It is the type of work that will change. So if I was a lion at 30 and I wanted to go out and run and conquer, today I can't run and conquer. So I like to preen and actually work out something which will make me rest and lie back and enjoy my conquests, if at all, or my losses, and actually lick my wounds in case they were not there. But it's a time where you can actually reflect and look back on yourself. So there is a different age for different animals, but all 4 animals are relevant till I think you can stop breathing or whatever happens. So it's very important to understand that as we sort of progress the entire framework for life and living. Any questions actually around enterprise has to be about life and living, because that's really where it all starts.
We will get to enterprise and entrepreneurship together. I do want to understand from you about one of your conquests, if I could call it, which has kept you in the headlines, which is Rajasthan Royals. If you could take us a little bit about your journey with the IPL and then how you ended up building Rajasthan Royals as a franchisee.
You see, I think just as the name reflects, is cricket. And cricket is about a team. And somebody has to be a captain. I happen to be a captain at a certain point in time. So the point is, it's a team of enterprise that we built up. That enterprise consists of teamwork. And without the teamwork in building this franchise, we couldn't move ahead. 1 is the players, 2 is the people who did all the investments, 3 is the stakeholders, 4 is government because they allow you to play, 5 is BCCI, and 6 is the audience. If you didn't have that, you don't have an enterprise. So this enterprise consists of these 6 or 7 elements. How I built it up or we built it up would be more appropriate, is basically based on a basis of sport. I was privileged to be exposed to many sporting arenas. I was the CEO of the Asian Track and Field Meet in 1989, in which we got Carl Lewis and we brought the Santa Monica team. And he taught me one thing, that nothing is for real. So I was talking to him and Carl said, yesterday you gave me such good food in Bukhara and Dampur. I've got a stomach upset. So I said, boss, today everybody is waiting for you. 120,000 people in Jawaharlal Nehru, and you are telling me that you won't perform. He said, he said, I won't perform, meaning I'll be there, but I can't do more. I said, nothing, you have to run. So I asked him, what is the issue? So he told me that my issue is that I'm running to the loo. So therefore I cannot run because this is part of the world network of athletics. And therefore it'll count in my performance. So therefore if I go down, I've had it. So I gave him an idea. I said, look, if you're running to the loo, I said that you must be losing weight, so you'll run faster. So anyway, that was set to rest. But he said, you are a clever businessman. So I said, not business, I'm just telling you I have to make you run. He ran and actually he completed that race in 0.30 seconds less than what he normally does. So I think it's very important to understand that while this whole idiom of explaining that what has to be done will be done. So that Carl Lewis is an example. We had to make him run. It didn't matter because not about payment, but there were 120,000 people plus TV had just started. So there was no way that he could not run. So anyway, we got him to run. So I think one element of this is focus. So if you're focused on getting something done, you'll do it. But more importantly, I've been involved not only in Asian Track and Field before that, and during that I was involved in Wills Trophy. And before that, Charminar Challenge. So Charminar Challenge in 1983, we did the first, matches of 50 overs. And that was the breakaway from the long format in 1983. That's the same year as actually when India won the World Cup. India won the Prudential Cup for the first time with Kapil Dev. And that changed the entire face of Indian determination to can do and to deliver. So from there onwards, I've been involved in cricket. And we actually created something quite unique. I used to work in ITC in BAT. So we had Wills Trophy in ITC and we had Charminar Challenge in India. But I moved from Charminar to Wills because they're part of the same mother umbrella of British American Tobacco. So when we went there, it was very interesting that I created a thing called Wills International. And we created this and I said Bangladesh, Pakistan, Australia, Sri Lanka. Why don't we actually have a tournament with Wills? Because the Wills brand was everywhere. So that was the first creation of mine which is of public importance. So in doing that, it was tough because we had permissions, BCCI. We went to Pakistan. I remember the people in Pakistan were very helpful and nice. I remember going with Kapil Dev and Sachin Tendulkar was a young guy at that point in time when we went there. But we created this Wills International, the finals of which we played in Dubai. And that is the first time that actually we realized that we could continue with Dubai in the Sharjah Stadium as to do something. When cricket started becoming interesting because we lost South Africa in 2004 or 5, I can't remember. My partner Manoj Badale, he's the real guy who actually said from loss comes opportunity. And he said, let us try and do something for cricket in India. And we launched a thing called Cricket Star. So Cricket Star was something that where a bus driver's son actually won it and we sent him to the UK to play with, I think, not Loughborough, but Leicestershire Cricket Club. So I think that was the learning. So when we did Cricket Star and we met BCCI, and that's when we met Lalit Modi. And Lalit said that this is what you're doing is quite good and interesting. Why don't you all apply for the enterprise of IPL? We're doing this is the format. It all seemed very complicated, but anyway, we applied. And being in India and my colleagues were abroad and we wanted to have an enterprise which was funded by people who are friends of the family from overseas. So we applied in my name, but that was really with the backing of Manoj and his team to actually apply. We got into trouble subsequently because of that, but that application went through and we won the bid. It wasn't really that we thought of it as a business model. We really thought that let's make some sort of fun and let's have something to do. We didn't want to lose money, but we said let's take the risk. But nobody thought that the valuations would go this high or that we'd make so much money or that we made so much entrepreneurs. We made so many people make money
Did you
because
think
of this
about
model.
the impact? Sorry for interrupting, but did you think about the impact long term when you created?
No.
Or it was only like a short term goal that you created, which has now become.
There was no goal or no long-term, short-term. We didn't think it would be so big and so impactful, both monetarily and also as a game. But the game grew from 2008 it was. So 2007 is when we applied, and then we had to Jaldi 5 do the enterprise and open accounts and things like that. We got into trouble even though the best thing was we won the 2008, the first inaugural one, and that will remain in memory for the next 50 years at least, I think, because you forget what happens, 50 years earlier. So I think it was not something that we dreamt that it'd be a big business enterprise as it is today. We thought it was a enterprise. We should not make a loss. We didn't think it would be so important as part of the portfolio. So I think if people say it is so profitable, we did this, we did that. I don't believe them because we didn't do it, and maybe we were lacking in something not to do it. But it was lucky.
But now it is profitable, and it's.
We've been profitable, to be fairness, and from point one. But the profits today are much more than it was before, thanks mainly to media rights and an understanding BCCI. But it was Lalit's genius that he actually created this model, which was a combination of all sports, primarily the NBA and football, of European football. So I think this came out of that. And so therefore the dominance of cricket changed, people changed, geographies changed, so everything happened and everybody got an opportunity to make money. Cricketers were rewarded, meaning it's unbelievable, meaning what happened. But it wasn't sort of something that was planned and this is how we do it. Like in enterprise, suppose you make a toothpaste, you'll have a brand. So you'll say, okay, let's make the toothpaste, let's sell it, let's create the name, brand, and then launch it. Then there's an input, output, etc. So that type of business planning of mission, vision, and then delivery was not completely done. It just happened. And then now we've got so much planning. Now we've got everybody in the world saying, let's do a plan, do a presentation. Shareholders want to know this, that, and other. So now it's become really more complicated. But
Then it was fun when it started. Now
I think it's still fun, but it is fun for a new lot of people. For us as early adopters and early starters, we were very different. See, the three things that run any business: knowledge, money, and fun. Any business. So for you also in your job, if you want to be entrepreneurial and enterprise driven, you have to understand that if you don't have knowledge, you can't run a business. If you don't have money, you can't sustain the business. And if you don't have fun, you can't keep people going. So I'm saying you need knowledge, money, and fun.
So this may sound like a cliched or a silly question, but I still want to hear it from you. On the feasibility of an actual IPL team from Assam. You worked on a franchisee under Rajasthan's name. Why nothing from Assam? Or do you think it is possible?
No, everything is possible. It's a question of the business structure. And people said we could not play IPL in Guwahati, but we brought IPL to Guwahati and we played it twice. So that was a risk we take. That's an entrepreneurial decision. That's enterprise. That's what makes the difference between enterprises who take risk and who actually don't take risk. This risk was to get more people. We didn't make much money. We make more money in Rajasthan, actually, in terms of the figures. Not so because of other reasons. But we came here and actually this also helped to sort of spark up a local player who was there, and we knew him, so we backed him, we helped him. He was, of course, already identified by the board earlier. So if somebody in Assam says, or me say that we knew about him and we were great and we put him there, that is not true. We were recommended by people in the board who were training him that he's a good guy. But what we did was we put a lot of inputs in him and believed him. So while he did not do the way people wanted him to do in the first 4-5 years, we had belief in him to make him a better all-rounder. So today he's known as an all-rounder who comes in at 5-6. That's a role which is difficult to play. So he has to hit quick ones and go out. You know what people said, oh, he already out-hole. So hey, bosutu na hoy. So we have to actually understand the process by why we inputted him. He's a great fielder. He's a great bowler. And actually, therefore, combined sort of nature of cricket, if you're all-rounder, there is more sort of dum in the guy.
So about position or output alone depend kore. So like you said, because he is 5th and 6th in the order, that is why his output expectation is different.
Yes, that is correct. That's very well put, actually, what you've said. So I think, so that is what happened with that. So coming back, you said, what made you start cricket? So it was an accidental sort of move. It wasn't really something really well planned. Now, ever since we got it, won the first tournament, it didn't become accidental. It became a realistic delivery of item. There was exposure. People knew you. We couldn't fail. We had to make some money out of it, etc., etc. So that's the later afterthought. But it was an accidental investment that everybody made.
Now I would like to drift a little from the topic, and if you don't mind me asking, you'd be about 70?
Yeah, 71.
You're 71. All right. You have worked across generations. When I say that, you worked with, say, boomers, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Beta, call them whatever you may, but you worked them across. You worked with them, different age groups. How do you see people in different age groups working? How have you seen the work culture change?
It's not an easy answer to give because it takes a lot of time and definition. But I'll try and do a synopsis for you, which is different. Is that the businesses that we are in, you talked about cricket, we deal with all generations. So we deal with all people who are small baby boomers, people who are middle-aged, people who are old. All of them attend cricket. So we have to fine-tune our communication to see that all these people are addressed. So cricket is the sum total of how we actually address these generations and address their quirks. So some people like to go to the stadium and eat. Some people don't like. Some people want booze in the stadium. Some people don't. Some people get it. Some people don't. So everybody is different. So that structuring of what we can do and can't do is something that we do. So targeting and consumer audience management is all the businesses that I do. So automatically we have to deal with all generations. So in 1930, or rather when I was 30, I used to deal in cigarettes. So that was a totally different era. We launched a brand called Charms. It was about denim. It was about free enterprise. It was freedom. It was, the kind of topics that we did was across generations of that time. But it didn't mean that people didn't smoke, but that time older people were smoking pipes, and they were smoking mixture, and they were smoking different types. But till my grandfather smoked till he was 67 or 80, or 70. I can't remember meaning everything, but I remember him a smoker. Nowadays we don't smoke, right? Because older people don't smoke, and smoking itself has gone down as a product category. So product categories have changed to define the behavior of different generations. So those product categories either are made for different generations because of change, or they have changed people. For example, mobile phones. So now, how can you talk about mobile phones? Having had the privilege of being at the first launch of Hutchison Max, it was called. Vodafone came much later. They bought up the company. So we basically had to deal with all kinds of people. Rich, poor, tall, old, young. So that phone subserves everybody. But phone, the basic thing of phone to understand in the entrepreneurial enterprise is a very interesting thing called listening and talking. There cannot be anything more basic than that. For one example, I came from tobacco, and a guy, he rang me up, I still remember, in 1996. He said, "Oh, sir, I believe you've joined from tobacco. I just wanted to ask you, how does it feel? Because now the big rumor is that if you listen to the phone long enough, you will get cancer in the brain, or you'll get cancer, or you'll have other diseases." So I said, you're talking to the wrong guy. I've come from the cigarette industry to this, so at least this seems a little more different. At least public perception-wise, this is less harmful than cigarettes. Not to say cigarettes are harmful, but nevertheless. So I said, you're talking to the wrong guy. So I remember that whole conversation, because now the product category was listening and hearing, and that is most basic. And one of our products, which we became a rage in India, and we were the first, actually second, but we made it more successful than the first, was prepaid cards. Right. So prepaid cards addressed the need of that youth, addressed the need of people who were just wanted to pay cash and buy prepaid cards. So that prepaid card revolution, today it's about 70% of the total use of phones. Everybody likes a prepaid card. But that was very difficult. I remember the head of Airtel, the owner of Airtel, the owner of Tatacom, owner of Birla, the owner of SR, they were all telling me that why are you launching prepaid? Because once your guy is hooked onto the phone, and the main one is that then he's got full, control. And we have control of him. He doesn't have to go in and out. But your prepaid, the guy can buy and tomorrow not join. I told him, sir, this whole business is about hearing and listening. The more you can make people hear and listen, then you're through. Because then more people will buy. So the size of the cake in the hearing and listening market is big. But if you look at it as cell phone market, then it's small. The rest is history. I'm saying we were proved right and we were lucky and things like that. So that is how we address the categories of millennials, behavior, values. All that is addressed by these product categories. I deal with cricket and communication.
Right. But this is from a consumer point of view. I want to understand from a work ethic point of view. In your time back at Wills, you have worked with a different generation. Today, you are working with someone who's say 23, 24. Their work ethics are different. I want to understand that difference in work ethic. How have you dealt with it as a businessman, as an entrepreneur?
You see, finally, everything is about consumers. Your own enterprise has got consumers, and you are dealing with people in your own organization who are consumers. What are the consumers of your product, of your ideals and your thought? So you actually deal with them as consumers. So you have to address their current needs. For example, when we were young, there was no need for cell phones and saying people would bargain, will you give me a cell phone as part of my terms? So now people ask that, but that was not in my terms. Earlier people said, okay, can I get a car and a driver? Now that is not there because you get market loans, you can hire a car and a driver or rentals. So I think the industry of life and living has changed. So with life and living has changed, you have to address the needs of those people that work with you and those people that work for consumers at the same type of level, and that same segmentation needs to be done. It's not an easy answer, but the reality is you have to address the need of the consumer and your consumers who work with you. Right. You have to address their needs too.
I like this perspective that people who are working with you are also consumers of your thought process.
Yes.
Which brings me to the other narrative which is grabbing headlines, which is the work hours and the entire debate of how much hour should you work. At the introduction, when we were speaking also, you mentioned about Gadhar Nisna Khati Se. So somewhere do you think that, of course, working 80 hours, 90 hours a week is important, and that entire debate that was sparked by first Narayan Murthy, then the CEO of L&T. Do you think somewhere you relate to this, or what is your opinion on?
I think L&T and Narayan Murthy and all have views. All views have to be respected. You see, that's the beauty of people in an enterprise where you can give views. Your views may not be accepted, but at least you must make them feel that they are part of the conversation. So conversations cannot stop. If you say, no, this is junk, this is not right. Working is a very basic part of development. Most people, don't think that. Most people grown up in a family idiom. in which they say that you have to go to work at 9, come back, then you need Christmas holidays, you need this holiday, that holiday. I'm not of that idiom. I'm of the idiom that when you are living, you have to work. For example, a cook, when he's cooking, if you say that, oh, you need a break from cooking and for 2 days go away, you cannot make food, go elsewhere. Why don't you do cycling for a while? You can do all of that, but that's all part of it with the enterprise which actually works with you. So you cannot tell people that work is 20 hours, 19 hours. You can suggest to them and you can enforce it through the terms and conditions that you have. That working is a basic part. The moment you start having to force people to work, you know that that guy itself has failed. That individual has failed. Because, because he's a shortcut guy, he's all the things that he shouldn't be. The whole purpose of grounding and how you grew up at home matters a lot for this work ethic. For example, the sun and nature dictates how you work. We all come 4 generations ago, we are all from the village or from farming communities. So if you look at it, the sun rises, you go out, you'll have, in Assam, you'll have rice and go. In other places, you'll have bread in somewhere in the northern hemisphere. But everybody has a meal so that you get energy before you go.
Right.
Then you go and work through the day. And then you may have a break, may not have a break for food. Nowadays, they take food. Otherwise, they just wait on the side. They cook their own food. And then they start working again. They take a break. And whatever the break is, it is defined by actually the need. It starts from 5 minutes to 1 hour. If you go and see in the tea garden, people plucking leaves, they take a 15-minute to half an hour break during a period of time. It doesn't have to be lunch at 12 to 1 and all. So they take a break. You need to re-energize the person to actually work. So then comes the evening. After sunset, the farmer goes back home. Then at home he goes and actually because in a tea garden community, the whole family works. Then they go and actually say, what will we have for dinner? Then they start cooking dinner if nobody has already cooked it for them. And then they go to sleep. That's the cycle of work. The cycle of work determines what you are required. For example, an aircraft going from here to San Francisco non-stop is an 18-hour flight. So you can't tell the pilot you have 8 hours work. So now you just jump off the plane and give me some other pilot. So what they do is they give another pilot and say, you take a rest. But the crew of 10 or 12 people are all there. So they can't say they'll jump off the plane, the air hostesses, and say no. So air hostesses also take a break. But that doesn't mean they jump off the plane. But some people in this revolution say, oh, we can't do it. You have to stop the aircraft. No non-stop flight.
But they would be out of a job.
They'll be, may not, or they'll find a job with small sectors. They'll find. So you have to find what you want. But if the work defines that you have to work for enterprise for 24/7, that is the job you choose. You may choose not to do it, but if you do it, then only you will be successful to yourself because that is what you're doing. For example, a nurse or a doctor cannot say that we cannot look after the patient. My duty hours are over. A replacement hasn't come, I'll go. You leave the patient like that. So I don't entirely agree to this whole thing of working for it is. But the larger issue is what L&T and the debates that are going on with Walmart and people globally right now. In fact, last week there was a big issue where I think Deloitte or one of the Deloitte or McKinsey, I don't know who it was. Their basic workforce globally has said, we want to work from home. Because they have given a circular saying that 4 days work you have to come to office, 3 days you can work from home or not work from home, 2 days is holiday. After all, there must be a reason why that is done. So this work from home is the bigger issue than working 90 hours. So that is, an unreasonable thing. You define your own work and you do it based on the work that is required. Work from home is an interesting concept. It has pluses and minuses like any other situation. Many people say that working from home I'm much more efficient. And many people say that working from home I'm not efficient. Yesterday I was talking to some young person and I asked her, and she's going to Australia for 1 year. She's working from here and she used to work for Deloitte, now she works for an Australian bank in the back office. So she says that this whole work from home is interesting because that's the best period of my life. Okay. So I said it, but there's no formality. She says, why do you need formality to work? This is a question she said. So I said, well, he said, army is formality. In the army, you have to dress well or dress like in the Jawan's dress. He said, that is the choice that the individual makes to job. But if you give me a work from home option, I will take work from home because it gives me that freedom and flexibility. Yet, I miss my friends. I miss teamwork. So the downsides are all that stuff. So definition of all this. So you come back to the donkey, the lion, the saras, and the vision. So if you put all of this, I always go back to when I think on those items for any answer that I have. You find that what she said was correct. And she said one thing more, and I read it last night actually after she went. In one of the news items on this McKinsey or whoever that was, they're saying that actually now we don't have any office politics because we don't have to go to work. So that is also less, you know. So it's up for grabs, this whole work from home. I'm not for work from home because there's no discipline, even though I work from home all the time. So what is work from home? I work at night, I wake up at 5, meaning wake up at 7, sometimes I wake up at 9. So I work 24, but that is entrepreneurial nature.
Absolutely right. Do you think there's a lack of accountability in work from home also? Who is going to keep asking you, have you done this? Did you do that? Is that over? That lack of accountability in smaller organizations, maybe.
See, that question and answer you'll do even at work.
Yeah.
At work also, if the guy doesn't work, which is in the case many of the guys don't work, have you done this? Where's your work plan for the day? Where's the work plan for the week? All that is natural, whether you work from home or not. The structure will define how you want. So, for example, if we say what they do, Bagano Nirik Buli Kothata say. In the tea garden, they tell you that you have these 20 bushes today you have to cut. If you don't finish it, you don't get paid.
Okay.
So you give a target saying that, look, these are the forms you have to fill up. This is what you have to do. It's complicated because somebody will say, this form, so-and-so answer didn't come, this happened, that happened.
Right.
It's possible. So sometimes it may not be always possible to work on a structured form.
Right.
But I think it's possible.
Okay.
Most people who listen to these situations will all rationalize it according to themselves. See, as I'm speaking, you're thinking, what am I? What should I be? What should the answer be? What would you like to hear as an answer? Or what should have been the answer? As we're speaking, everybody here is interacting in their own minds, wanting to know what their kind of life situation will be, you know.
On that particular point, I want a little bit of a background. You worked across India.
I've worked everywhere in India.
Right. I want to understand the difference in work ethics in these two places. This may sound a little, again, stereotypical, but Assam has always had a lahe culture. We've had a bad stereotype attached to us that we are lahe people. What is Assam's positioning in terms of Indian workforce, and what is India's positioning in terms of the global workforce, in terms of efficiency or output, or your experience directly?
I don't think there is any stereotype in this. The Indian workforce depends on what kind of work you want. Look at the IT industry. It is totally the most wanted workforce in America. English-speaking country, and therefore America. Is the Indian workforce loved and liked in Russia? I don't think so, because they don't know Russian to do that. So to have a stereotype is very difficult. Indian enterprise, Indian jugaad is known everywhere in the world. So we are always doing shortcuts. Whoever it is, these young people that join my organization, everybody is wanting to do shortcut to work. If you ask him to walk from here to there, they will find a shortcut how to go, not how to take the road, That is the ethos of an Indian, nothing to do with workforce. Every workforce will depend on how the manager treats him. I've worked in Assam for more than 3-4 years, indirectly in the cigarette market, and I've traveled most villages and towns. I find the level of enterprise very good. The advantage Assam has is it wakes up early and sleeps early. Supposedly, today the modern young people, middle class, to 5-10% of the people, like late nights and all that. But the rest of, meaning the people in Guwahati city, go to sleep. So not everybody stays awake at night. So the workforce based on farms, villages, from modern working are very different. So there cannot be an answer that how are Indian workforce, etc., how are Assamese compared. I work in, say, in the Assamese, people who speak Assamese, they work outside. They are very good. I don't see anything. People who work in Assam are also very good.
Right.
But anybody who gets a chance to work slow or low will take that chance. Anyway, I think Assamese people are very good. I started my first computer program in Assam, Bengal, Bihar in the year 1981. And the Assamese people who responded were better than most other people just in terms of delivery. Biharis were second most, and over a period in time they became number one. So the stereotyping of people is not actually correct.
Right.
So depending on the situation and depending on the industry and the language, people will perform.
Okay. Are you associated with the Tata Group companies currently?
I am very much associated with all Tata companies.
And in what capacity is the follow-up?
So, yeah, I don't work for the Tatas, I work with them.
Okay.
I find them a very ethical organization, ethics as defined by, they do not cut corners. They are very dogged on whatever the rules are. They would rather change the rule than break the rule. So I have learned that kind of ethical moorings from the Tatas. And I personally had a very close relationship with Mr. Tata. It is his graciousness that he could also identify with a small person like me. I have 122 bits of correspondence with Mr. Tata, in which we corresponded on various subjects and various enterprises. And I've traveled with him. I was privileged to be with him and associated with him in doing various items. I was directly involved. I was the chairperson of the enterprise called Amalgamated Plantation, Tata Teas Plantation. I have been working with TCS as an advisor, primarily on the environmental side. I've been working on the advocacy side with Tata Consumer Products. I'm working with Tata Power in trying to work out a strategy for Northeast generation, distribution and transmission. I'm trying to work with them. I'm trying to work with the Tata New Digital Age. And this entire enterprise in Jaggi Road is something that I have been very much privileged to be part of, to support the dream of Chandrasekhar, followed by the Chief Minister and followed by everybody else that actually worked on that. So I'm very integrated. I believe that is one company. If they want to do something, they can do it. They've lasted 150 years.
Right.
There's no other company with that age. So they are a group of entrepreneurs, not just a family. And they encourage group entrepreneurship. And that is why it is very important that that association that I have with them is a lifelong one.
Okay.
And then I can carry on with them. And that is why you can see the first hotel, the first 5-star, the first grassroots hotel, the Amma resorts, the entire process of trucks, the entire process of nano, all this actually came to Assam. So Tata as an enterprise are involved in more things than we actually see.
Okay.
So it is my privilege to be working with them, advising them, guiding them wherever possible and where they want it.
What does it mean for the economic growth story of Assam, from the Tata Trusts, the cancer care hospital, to about 27,000 crores of investment, the semiconductor plant, and the other areas of investment that you've mentioned? How does it affect Assam in the long run? And if you could give me a period of long run, say it could be 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years down the line.
Yeah, I think if the Tatas have existed in the world for 150 years, we hope the Tatas exist here for 150 years. They already have a good record with their tea industry, even though through ups and downs it's not done well. I think it is very important that we sort of work with the Tatas to see where the investments should be. They are very entrepreneurially driven. They want to invest where it matters. They've taken a risk, big risk, by coming to Assam because there is no background of IT or semiconductors here. We've produced many such people who go all over the world. But so therefore they've taken an entrepreneurial risk. We hope they succeed. The value chain of the investment of $3.5 billion, which people often talk about 27,000 crores, they forget to actually think that when we did this enterprise, the dollar was only 81 rupees and now it's 87. So it's already crossed 30,000 crores, just as an aside, by the way. So it's very important to understand that the value of that multiplier is great. Because one guy who's employed there will have 4 people in their housing. They'll create a housing. That housing has a multiplier. They'll have a car. That's a multiplier. They'll eat food. There's a multiplier. So the multiplier of 27 crores, I think, is about 5 times more. Direct employment is 15,000 and indirect employment will be another 30,000. So I think it's a very big, say 100,000 is the kind of bucket, I think, even though my numbers don't stack up, to actually deliver this. I think the ancillary industries that will be there, the value chain, and even more. Who makes the box? Who will do the supply chain? Who will carry the goods? Who will take the plastic? Who will take the renewable plastic? Who will supply the energy? Just think the value chain. So people actually are not detail conscious, as I said in the beginning. So if you don't have focus and you don't want to answer and understand the question, you cannot actually comprehend the impact of such a big thing.
Right.
If the tea industry came 200 years ago and changed Assam's dynamics, the oil industry came in 1895 or 1900 and changed the dynamics. Today, the semiconductor will come, and when somebody talks 150 years later, they will say semiconductors changed the life of Assam.
On that point also, I want to understand from you on Advantage Assam 2.0, the economic summit that is going to that is expected to drive change for Assam. Do you think the concept is a successful model? Do you think it'll work? Do you think it's going to change everything, or at least impact change at some level? Your comments on it, Ranjit.
I think Advantage Assam is nothing but promoting the enterprise of Assam. The enterprise of Assam is like the Tata Group. The Tata Group depends on very good governance, very good leadership, and very good plans. I think Assam is at a stage in which it has a good leadership for business. I'm not getting into politics, but that's not my forte. He has a leadership, he has a universal support through his own process of democracy, and he has a universal understanding of how business runs. Therefore, to have a situation where you have a chief minister of that who can take risks and take decisions, within 1 week he can correct a decision and make enterprise come. Advantage Assam is being led by the right person. And therefore my support for this is absolutely unequivocal. I think it's very important that we support our CEO. I, in fact, in a press conference said he's beyond the CEO. He is actually managing director and chairman of Assam. That is the nature of the person. The CEO is all the other bureaucrats and all. In the case of other states, you may call the CM CEO. He is CEO multiplied because he knows every village, he knows every person. He has a good understanding and he listens to enterprise, saying that this is my problem. He'll say, okay, this is your problem. This is what we can do, can't do. Let's make sure it works. So he takes decisions very fast. So Advantage Assam is actually advantaged more by a very strong and focused leadership. Back to the 4 points. Does he work like a donkey? Does he work, with focus? Is he fearful in conquest and correction? Does he have a vision? All 4 boxes he's got 100%. So you cannot get anybody better than that to lead it. This is Assam's chance. This is Assam's chance to push whatever we want in small enterprise and big enterprise to make sure Assam joins the world of per capita income growth and also becomes the most important nature state in the country. It should be the first nature-neutral state where nature is not expended while we're doing this development. So I think that's the other mantra that he's driving. Already, if you see some of his speeches in Bombay, he's talking about renewable energy being the only energy that will be used in new enterprise.
Okay.
And old enterprise must convert to renewable energy. So you've got the right formula, meaning somebody asks me that, so politically are you aligned to the BJP because of that? I'm definitely, I'm aligned to anybody who's in the leader. We have a process of democracy.
Right.
If he's the chief minister, we support him. Is it him or the BJP? These kind of conversation, I'm not in participating and nor do I want to have.
Right. But do you know about any specific interesting projects or showcases that are going to be a part of the summit that you can talk to us about?
I don't think we can talk about it because we haven't signed it.
Okay.
But I know that there are 5 areas which are definitely moving ahead in discussions in the Bombay meeting and Delhi meeting. One is infrastructure. So everything you talk about, roads, ports, riverine infrastructure and basic industry like steel and cement, I think that's one big area that is talked about. That's one. 2, I think it's very important to build up a services sector.
Right.
So enterprise for training of people for the semiconductor. So training and development is a very big sector that is opening up. Some announcements are made, some announcements haven't. Third is there is a very big enterprise which is likely to be linked with Singapore and Japan and Korea, which is actually linked with this entire developmental project of creating an entire ecosystem for global resource centers for all global companies, which is not only call centers but also processing centers for papers, etc., etc. It's an outsource center, and that is a global center that we can do. Thirdly, we're looking at friendly manufacturing. And that manufacturing built on Jogigopa.
Okay.
Jogigopa should be developed as the multimodal port. And that is what the focus is. Who do we get? Who do we work with? How do we do it? The multimodal port will have access to people. It has access to Bangladesh. From multimodal port, it has access to ASEAN countries across all the new roads that are there. It has enterprise to the whole of Northeast. It has riverine systems. If we have a great airport, Jogigopa will finally one day, I think, should become the future of Assam's developmental program. So that is the 4th program. 5th is, I think the emphasis on IT is also very much there. To have data centers and to work on IT. So if you look at it, here's one chief minister who's saying, what will happen in 2100? In 2100, can we guess it? He said no. But what are the trends? Like in the year 1900, could anybody say that this would be a digital economy? No. Then all our payments, pay ATM, this, that, nobody. But you had an idea of the trends that IT was taking over. So he's saying what is taking over, that by 2000 we'll do this. What are the blocks of infrastructure that you need to make? So these 5 things make Assam Advantage different, and these 5 things give people hope. That 5 things give the eagle a vision.
Right.
The 5 things give it focus like the saddles. The 5 things gives it the chance for us to work hard, and the 5 things give it the chance to conquer the world.
Okay. Having worked across India and also in Assam, do you think MSMEs and early stage startups have enough resources and an ecosystem here in Assam?
The point is, the answer is no. It does not have.
Okay.
The structuring, mentoring and actually training of MSMEs and any enterprise which is of the SME and MSME level is very difficult to actually manage in Assam. Because firstly you need consumers and targets and markets.
Right.
So whatever you do, somebody has to consume. But you'll see there's a revolution in the food industry. You all conduct a food industry festival for the last 10 years. You see the rise of, say, foods from all over different communities. Mishing, Boro, Naga,
Right.
Mizo. Suddenly there's a blowing up of the entire food industry. And as a result, there's a blowing up of interest in food. So that is MSME and SME. So that's a big enterprise with the value chain for that. That gives you pig farming, that gives you chicken farming, that gives you egg farming, that gives you different types of organic rice. So the whole ecosystem is changing in the food sector for sure. The next sector is tourism. So today, for example, we ourselves have an enterprise in Palipara, We have got 5 homestays which we have helped to develop. What does homestay mean? We have taken a Garo village. We have said in this house that your investments need to be good bed, clean sheets, good bathroom, warm, cold, whatever the season is. You all make it, we will pay that money. So we've helped people, the Goro, Boro, Mishing, Nishi, then Assamese, and one more community, Adivasi. We have helped them to create homestays. So that homestay is a new revolution that is waiting in rural India. Because that homestay will be, come and plant your own paddy.
Right.
So people will come in the season and plant their own paddy. And they'll go away, at least it's fun.
Right.
Then people come and cultivate paddy. Come and dance with the people, not in a way by which it is commercial, but dance with us while we celebrate our Bihu.
Right.
Come and sing with us while we celebrate our Bihu. To come and actually spread the culture, because culture is the next big revolution that will take place in Assam, because that we have 250 tribes or whatever the figure, the figure keeps changing. And that is really where our basis, our cultural revolution of the Northeast is really what we need to develop, whether it's environmental culture or whether it's culture of sewing, weaving, handloom, whether it's culture on food, whether it's culture on cultivation, and what we actually do.
So, but for large scale industry, someone wants to set something up, a young entrepreneur, does he have to look at these traditional fields like a cultivation, paddy or homestay? Do you think he has enough support system, like you said?
No, he does not have.
Does
But
not have.
I'm saying to answer your question,
Yes.
but you asked me a question, do the SMEs and MMEs have a good support system?
Right.
I said no. But I said these are the SMEs and MMEs that will have a support system because it's based on individual.
All right.
But
Okay.
coming back to your real question, is that setting up a big enterprise, forget. Small enterprise, the government have announced that they're creating a fund, a local fund of capital enterprise and topping up of capex of 25,000 crores to help the SME and MME as part of Advantage Assam. This has already been recorded in Bombay meeting where 25,000 crore fund will be given for this kind of development program, just to address this need. Now, the question is who will help them to do a business plan. It is happening slowly, but it is happening for sure.
Okay. So as we kind of try and wrap up this conversation, Rajita, I have just 2 last questions. One of them being employability, where I see a lot of, say, our peers or people who may be good talent in some form choose to move out of Assam in search of better career opportunities. Is Assam continuing to struggle and face brain drain? That is a part question. And the follow-up part of this is, how do you improve employability of local Assamese youth in Assam?
Both are good questions. So just because the IT revolution happened in America and all Indians went there, does it mean India is not a good place to work? So I'm saying that's an example. The fact that Assamese can go outside and are employed means they are in a competitive world and are actually doing better. The next generation maybe will help, or the half generation. So I think it's a very good idea if Assamese people go and get exposed outside and work outside. So that is part one. But your basic question is, do we have enough jobs here? The answer is no. So I think that will happen. I'm saying Advantage Assam is just a showcase. It's just a communications medium to say come and invest in Assam. We have to make the conditions precedent. Where's the land? What's the enterprise? How do you get the money? All the questions that you asked. I think it will take time. And I think it's a question of meaning steps. Is there hope? 100%. I can see a different kind of awakening in India. I can see a different kind of awakening in the world. And I see while Assam is growing at 19% last year, India was growing at 5 or 6%. So that itself is there because we're investing a lot in infrastructure. And that infrastructure is basically based on roads, rivers, and this whole conference is focused on that. In America, after the Great Depression, the biggest inputs of investment was in infrastructure to make the economy go, because the multiplier of that is even more. Their people, their roads, their star, their stone. The whole value chain is much more effective. Therefore, what we are doing now is investing in infrastructure is the right thing to create the next level of enterprise. Today, there are many more contractors and people of bigger enterprise in Assam than there was ever before. People may talk about any kind of negative things of that, but the reality is we have created entrepreneurs. That's why Andhra Pradesh, GMR and what is the other one? GMR and the one that did the Bombay Enterprise, the hotel.
Right.
These were people who were contractors who made the dam in Andhra Pradesh, their grandfathers. So those people have actually had the funds and money to do it. The more we create this kind of infrastructure revolution, the more we will create entrepreneurs. And the more those entrepreneurs come, they will send their children all over the world to study. They will open different enterprises. They'll have hotels. They'll do meaning hard infrastructure for IT and making of HP computers. Maybe you'll hear some news like that very soon, where an Assamese entrepreneur will want to open making of computers in Assam, and that will go. But your second part of the question, do we have enough bandwidth and capacity to manage all this?
But more than capacity and bandwidth, Ranjit, do we have good employable talent also? Do you find employable talent lacking here?
See, people like us are examples. Are we employable? I studied in Cotton College. I did not study anywhere else. Before I went to study outside, then I did programs in IIM, I did programs overseas. But I was employable, right? You have to have enterprise in you, for which I owe a lot to my parents, the house where we are sitting, who told me that actually you can do 1, 2, 3. Always address the issue, be honest, don't cut corners, don't give answers fast without thinking. If you do it, you have to have data, you have to have a business thing, not excuses.
Right.
Most answers people give their excuses for not performing. The process of this will take a little time, I think. But do we already have it? The answer is not fully. But anybody from Assam who's going out, like in TCS and other enterprises, I noticed a lot of Assamese people are employable, but they do not have the opportunity within Assam.
Right.
But they're going outside.
Okay.
We've got about over 50 medical colleges coming up. We have got nursing colleges. We have got colleges and universities. There are 6 universities, new ones coming up. All this will help, and ITIs and things like that. All this is going for the infrastructure of the organization. Hospitals and education. Healthcare and education, if you give people that basic, the rest will follow. I think there's a lag of about 5-10 years before we've got excess employment, then you won't know where to put them. We'll have too many employable people.
Okay. And now, towards the end, I want to understand, you are personally interested and invested in nature from your conversation, from your examples, and from your work at the Balipara Foundation also. What is the future of man-animal conflict?
See, the future is very bad and very poor, because human beings are growing at a rate which is faster. Where do they live? They will encroach on the forest. Forest is where all bigger species and smaller species thrive and grow, and that is their home. So once you start entering the home, it's like some people who are, say, coming in from other states are encroaching upon our land. So what do we do? There is bound to be conflict, and that conflict is basic in Assam. Similarly, animals are having a big conflict with us because we are entering their territory. Do we see, is the future bright? I think the consciousness of people asking these questions is better. Do you think the answer is there? No. I think it will take another 10 years before we start reclaiming forest, before we call it a green state.
10 বছৰত কিমান কৰিব ৰঞ্জিত দা? You will find forests, you'll find employment, you'll find infrastructure. Do you think we might have to sacrifice, or at least put one of these routes on the back seat?
I think forests is on the front seat.
Okay.
Because what forests you have to preserve. What forests you want to grow, will be different. In 1944, our forest cover in Assam was more than 60%. Today, our forest cover is 20. Why? Because there are more people. And if you look at a geological map, you'll find that people are encroaching the forests. I think our population is now stabilizing roughly at a 1% growth rate. That population of even influx of foreigners, etc., is also reduced.
Right.
Is it totally gone? Maybe not. But the reality is people are addressing this issue of people and people's migration. Till such time, it won't happen. Will this happen in the next 5 years? Yes. It has nothing to do with political leadership, but it has to do with our own understanding of whether we need big families or not. And that is obviously reducing. So that is one. Without forest, there is no economy.
Right.
Our economy is totally based on forest. There is nothing in the world which is not based on forest. All this is out of the economy of black oil. All this tin, all this is made from nature. There is nothing which is not made from nature.
Right.
Of the nature that we have, which is wood, of plants, of biodiversity, we are not being able to value it. So when you do valuation of nature, and that is what Balipara Foundation is striving to do, that's what we do. Yesterday we were talking, what should our mission and vision be? And we arrived at something simple. Balipara Foundation's mission and vision should be, we want to be foresters and we want to forest. That's all.
Okay.
That's all we want to do. That's our vision. We want to save it, we want to grow it, and we want to be foresters ourselves to understand what it is all about. So once you do that, then I think the revolution will be there. But your point is correct. What do you prioritize? How do you prioritize? Where will you get employment? I think nature is the biggest employer.
Right.
And we don't ask people to go back. There are modern ways of cutting, there are modern ways of doing things. That guy should be able to send his children to Cotton College or Harvard. So the forester will be the future employer. And I'm saying we will have more colleges and schools offering subjects in forestry. The forest officer, the IFS, should offer more than an IAS because he's preserving your greatest asset, which is nature. Once we put all those things into condition, then the world will be different.
All right. So, and as we've been speaking, I'm getting a couple of prompts for 2 more questions. Would you think you'll be able to spare time for those?
Yeah.
2 small questions. One of them being, Devajit Sarkia, who I had the privilege of having him as a guest on this talk show also when he was the joint secretary at BCCI. Now he's become the super boss at BCCI. What does this mean for cricket in Assam, if you have any thoughts on that?
No, I see, when you get a position, then you can influence. So I think Devajit is in a position in which he can influence better cricket, better training and grassroots work for this. So we need better infrastructure, we need more money, and we need more people to join this whole bandwagon of cricket administration and cricket. So he has that opportunity. And I'm sure he'll do it. He's already done quite a lot. You know, the Guwahati Town Club, when I see it, is reminiscent of something good. Where you see the stadium, it's reminiscent of something good. There are lesser scandals, there are lesser issues around cricket and what he's administering. Now, what is the dream of everybody? We should all write to him saying what you want to see. I'm sure that he will consider it.
Right.
But it's not that a secretary comes and then he changes cricket. It so happens BCCI was centered around Bombay and Chennai. Later Delhi. These are the 2 people that developed cricket, and also the Maharajas and all promoted cricket in Rajkot, Baroda and in Gujarat. So that is how those people have more cricketers than anybody else. So what he sees today, again, will take 5-10 years.
Yes.
But we should all have a 1-page write-up. You should ask a question to all the people that are your viewers, that why don't you write on and say, what do you want to see cricket in 5 years or 10 years from now for Assam cricket?
I think that's a good point. We might just take him up on this, right?
Yes, you should take him up.
All right. And, your thoughts on social media. Do you actively use social media? Are you there?
No, I don't actively use, but all my organizations actively use.
Okay.
I don't use it because it is a very engaging thing, and I like to reply to what I respond. I like to respond and reply to what I get.
Okay.
So anybody who knows with me, who's in WhatsApp, which is the main medium I use, will get a reply. Or on the email, which is delayed, often because I get so many,
Okay.
is that I think social media is good and bad. It has a good side and bad side. Social media is it pervades every age and every society. So to that extent, it's not a good thing, There's too much information out there. And too much information and confusion is not there. All this deep news, deep fake, this, that, all this, it's so confusing. So
Got it.
I do participate in this, but I'm not a great social media user other than WhatsApp.
Okay.
And that's what I do. Anybody who writes to me will get a reply, even if it's 2 days late.
Good to know.
So I don't know about the rest of social media. I know about it because we use it in cricket. We are number one in the whole space of whatever delivery items there are. We are number one, Rajasthan Royals. We are more than Chennai and Mumbai in spite of their leaders that they have. So we've been doing well. So it's good.
All right, great. All right, on that note, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and thank you for all your insights and your wisdom. I hope our viewers today take something back from it, interestingly. For all those who stuck around to the end of the episode, thanks for watching. If you've not done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button down there, and I'll see you in the next episode.